The wedding dress weighs nothing compared to the humiliation. Yuna stands at the altar in ivory silk, her heart a drum of dread, watching her groom's seat stay empty. 300 guests whisper behind gloved hands. Her mother's jaw ticks with barely contained rage. The priest clears his throat for the 4th time. And then her phone buzzes a text from Devon, her fiancé of 3 years. "I can't do this. I'm sorry." That's when the doors open. A man she has never seen before walks down the aisle in a charcoal suit that costs more than her mother's car, his dark skin luminous under the chapel light, his black eyes fixed on her like she is the only person in the room. He stops at the altar, extends his hand, and says in a voice that makes her knees weak, "Marry me instead." Something impossible ignites in her chest terror and want twisted so tight she can't breathe. And if you've ever wondered what happens when the worst day of your life becomes the first day of something you never saw coming, stay close. This is that story. Yuna stares at the stranger's outstretched hand. His fingers are long, elegant, steady, not a tremor of doubt. Behind her, someone gasps. Her mother rises from her seat, face flushed with fury. "Who the hell are you?" her mother demands. The stranger doesn't look away from Yuna. Someone who won't waste her time. The words cut through the chapel's mortified silence. Yuna's pulse hammers in her throat. She should refuse. She should run. She should demand answers. Instead, she looks into his eyes, dark, fathomless, burning with something she doesn't understand, and feels the ground shift beneath her. "You don't even know my name," she whispers. "Kim Yuna." His voice is silk over steel. 26. Pastry chef. Raised in Charleston by a Korean mother and an American father who left when you were 9. Graduated summa cum laude. Allergic to shellfish. You bite your lip when you're nervous. His gaze drops to her mouth. "Like now." Her breath catches. "How do you—" "Marry me," he says again. Softer this time. Dangerous. Or walk out of here in that dress and let everyone watch you fall apart. The truth of it slices through her. Devon left her at the altar. 300 people are witnessing her destruction. The photographers her mother hired are capturing every excruciating second. Tomorrow, she'll be Charleston's favorite scandal, the jilted bride, the fool who wasn't enough to keep her own fiancé. She looks at the stranger's hand again. Then she takes it. His fingers close around hers, warm and sure, and the chapel erupts. Her mother is shouting. Her bridesmaids are frozen in shock. The guests are on their feet. But the stranger, this impossible, terrifying man, simply turns to the priest. "Marry us," he says. Not a request, a command. The priest sputters. There are legalities, paperwork. This is highly irregular." The stranger reaches into his jacket and pulls out a folded document. "Marriage license, already filed. All it needs is our signatures and your witness." Yuna's head spins. "You had a marriage license? For me?" He finally looks at her fully, and the intensity in his gaze makes her forget how to breathe. "I've been preparing for this moment longer than you know." Before she can process that, her mother storms up the aisle. "Yuna, you will not marry some stranger." "She's not marrying Devon either," the stranger cuts in, his tone laced with contempt. "He's currently boarding a flight to the Maldives with his assistant. They've been sleeping together for 8 months. The chapel goes silent. Yuna's world tilts. "What?" The stranger's jaw tightens. "I'm sorry, but you deserve the truth. 8 months. Devon had been planning this, planning to humiliate her, and she'd been so stupidly blind." The stranger's hand tightens around hers, grounding her before the panic can spiral. "Marry me," he says quietly, "just for her. Let me give you a way out of this that doesn't destroy you." She searches his face. He's beautiful in a way that makes her uneasy, strong jaw, a mouth that looks like it rarely smiles, a scar cutting through his left eyebrow that speaks of a life harder than his tailored suit suggests. Danger written into every line of him. But his eyes, there's something raw in them, something that makes her feel like she's drowning and being saved at the same time. "I don't know you," she says. "You will." It's insane, reckless. The single most impulsive thing she's ever considered. But staying here, enduring the pity and the whispers, watching her life crumble, "Yes," she hears herself say, "I'll marry you." His expression doesn't change, but something flashes in his eyes. Triumph, possession, relief. He turns to the priest. Now, the ceremony is a blur. The priest stammers through abbreviated vows, his hands shaking as he holds the marriage certificate. Yuna's bridesmaids are crying. She can't tell if it's from shock or sympathy. Her mother has gone ominously quiet, staring at the stranger with an expression Yuna can't read. "Do you, Kim Yuna, take this man?" The priest falters. "I don't have your name, sir." Elijah Calloway. The name lands like a stone dropped into still water. Someone in the crowd sucks in a breath. Her mother goes white. Yuna's stomach drops. "Calloway?" He looks at her. "You'll understand soon." "Do you take Elijah Calloway to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Her voice feels far away. "I do." "And do you, Elijah Calloway, take Kim Yuna to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do." No hesitation, like he's been waiting his whole life to say it. "Then, by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." Elijah's hand moves to her waist, pulling her close. His other hand cups her jaw, tilting her face up. His thumb brushes her cheek, and she realizes she's trembling. "Breathe," he murmurs. Then he kisses her. It's nothing like Devon's kisses. Careful, polite, forgettable. This is heat and possession and something darker, something that makes her knees buckle. His mouth is firm, demanding, and when she gasps against him, he deepens the kiss, claiming her in front of everyone. When he pulls back, she's dizzy. The chapel is silent. Elijah signs the marriage certificate with swift, precise strokes, then hands the pen to her. She signs in a daze, her hand shaking. The priest witnesses it, looking like he wants to flee. Elijah takes her hand again. "We're leaving." "Wait." Her mother finally finds her voice. "Yuna, you can't just leave with him." "She's my wife now." Elijah's voice is cold, final, and you don't get a say in what she does anymore. He leads her down the aisle, past the staring guests, out into blinding June sunlight. A black car is waiting at the curb's sleek, expensive, tinted windows. A driver in a suit opens the door. Yuna balks. "I need to talk to my family." "No." Elijah's grip on her hand is gentle but unyielding. "Not yet. They deserve an explanation." "So do you." He guides her into the car, sliding in beside her. The door closes, muffling the chaos behind them. "And you'll get one, but not here." The car pulls away from the chapel. Yuna watches her failed wedding disappear through the rear window, her heart hammering. She's married, to a stranger whose name made her mother go pale. She turns to him. "Who are you?" Elijah is watching her with that unreadable expression. "Your husband." That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters right now. Frustration flares. "You ambushed my wedding. You knew about Devon. You had a marriage license ready. You owe me more than cryptic non-answers." Something shifts in his gaze approval, maybe. "You're right." He leans forward, says something to the driver. The privacy screen rises, sealing them in intimate silence. Elijah turns back to her. "I'm the CEO of Calloway Group." The name hits her like a fist. Calloway Group, the third largest technology and financial conglomerate in the world. Billions in assets. A reputation for ruthless acquisitions and innovation that borders on legend. "You're—" She can't finish the sentence. "A billionaire," he supplies. "Yes." Her mind reels. Why would a billionaire crash my wedding? His jaw tightens. "Because your mother made a deal with me 6 months ago." Yuna's blood goes cold. What kind of deal? Her company was drowning. Bad investments, worse management. She came to me for a bailout. Elijah's voice is flat, clinical. "I agreed. In exchange, I wanted you." The words don't make sense. "Me?" "A marriage arrangement. Her company's survival in exchange for your hand." Yuna's world fractures. "She sold me?" She agreed to facilitate an introduction. Let me court you properly. But then you got engaged to Devon, and your mother decided to back out of our deal. Elijah's eyes harden. I don't let people back out. She can't breathe. Her mother. Her own mother. So you showed up at my wedding, she whispers. You let Devon humiliate me. You used my pain to force me into this. No, the word is sharp. Devon's betrayal had nothing to do with me. I found out about it 3 days ago while investigating him. I tried to warn you, but you wouldn't take my calls. I don't know you. Why would I take your calls? Exactly. He exhales slowly. So I waited. And when he didn't show up today, I saw an opportunity. To trap me. To save you. His hand reaches out, stopping just short of touching her. You are about to be destroyed in front of everyone you know. I gave you a way out. A way out that benefits you. Yes, he admits. I won't lie to you, Yuna. I wanted you. I've wanted you since the first time I saw your picture in your mother's office. Her heart lurches. That's insane. Is it? His gaze burns into her. You're brilliant, beautiful. Strong enough to build a business from nothing while your mother tried to guilt you into working for her instead. You have more integrity in one finger than Devon had in his entire body. And when I saw you today, standing at that altar, refusing to cry even though you were breaking, his voice roughens. I knew I'd do anything to make you mine. The confession hangs between them. Too raw, too much. Yuna's hands are shaking. This is crazy. I don't know you. You have a year. Elijah cuts her off gently. Stay married to me for 1 year. Let me prove I can make you happy. If you still want to leave after that, I'll let you go. Clean divorce, no strings, and I'll make sure you're set for life. And if I say no now? His expression darkens. Your mother's company collapses. Hundreds of people lose their jobs. And you spend the rest of your life wondering if I was telling the truth about Devon. It's manipulation. Brilliant, ruthless manipulation. But as she looks into Elijah's eyes, she sees something else beneath the calculation desperation. Like he's terrified she'll refuse. Why? She asks quietly. Why me? He's silent for a long moment. Then, because when I saw your picture, something woke up in me that I thought was dead, and I need to know if it's real. The honesty in his voice undoes her. The car pulls up to a building Yuna recognizes the Callaway Tower, a glass and steel monolith in downtown Charleston, Elijah's American headquarters. I'm taking you somewhere safe, he says. Somewhere you can think without your mother or the press finding you. She should refuse. She should demand he take her home. But home is her mother's house, and right now, she's not sure she can look at her. She nods. Elijah helps her out of the car, his hand at the small of her back, as he guides her through a private entrance. They take an elevator that requires a key card, rising silently to the top floor. The penthouse is stunning floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, minimalist furniture in shades of cream and charcoal, art that probably cost more than her bakery. Elijah shrugs out of his jacket, draping it over a chair. In just his white dress shirt and vest, he looks younger. Still devastating, but more human. The breadth of his shoulders strains the fabric, and when he rolls his sleeves to his elbows, Yuna catches the edge of a tattoo curling around his wrist, something dark and intricate she can't quite make out. Are you hungry? He asks. Yuna realizes she hasn't eaten since last night. Her stomach growls in response. Something that might be a smile tugs at his mouth. I'll order food. Make yourself comfortable. He disappears into what she assumes is the kitchen. Yuna stands in the middle of the living room, still in her wedding dress, trying to process the last hour of her life. She's married to a billionaire who orchestrated this entire disaster, who also might have saved her from the worst humiliation of her life. Her phone buzzes. Texts are pouring in friends, family, people she hasn't spoken to in years. She turns it off. Elijah returns with a glass of water. Drink. She takes it, grateful. Their fingers brush, and she feels the spark again, that strange, electric pull. Why did my mother go pale when she heard your name? She asks. Elijah leans against the window, backlit by the setting sun. The light catches the planes of his face, the sharp cut of his cheekbones, and Una has to remind herself to breathe. Because she knows what I'm capable of when someone crosses me. Is that a threat? It's a fact. He meets her eyes. I'm not a good man, Una. I've built my empire by being smarter and more ruthless than everyone else. I've destroyed companies, ended careers, ruined lives when necessary. But I have one principle I never break. What's that? I protect what's mine. The possessiveness in his voice should terrify her. Instead, it sends heat curling through her stomach. I'm not yours, she says, but it sounds weak even to her. You are. He pushes off the window, closing the distance between them. You signed the paper. You took my name. You're mine now, Una, and I take care of what belongs to me. She should back away. She should tell him this is insane, that ownership isn't love, that she won't be his possession. But when he reaches out and gently removes the veil from her hair, letting it fall to the floor, she doesn't move. I know you're scared, he says quietly. I know this isn't what you wanted, but give me a chance. 1 year. Let me show you what we could be. And what's that? His hand curves around her jaw, thumb brushing her lower lip. Everything. The word hangs in the air between them, a promise and a threat. Then his phone rings. He pulls it out, frowns at the screen. I need to take this. He steps away, speaking low and rapid. Una catches her name, her mother's name, words that sound angry. When he hangs up, his expression is dark. What is it? She asks. Your mother is planning to contest the marriage. She's claiming coercion. Una's stomach drops. Can she do that? She can try. Elijah's voice is ice. But she won't succeed. We have witnesses, a legal license, and I have enough evidence of her company's financial crimes to bury her if she pushes me. The casual threat makes her flinch. She's still my mother. She sold you to save herself. Elijah's eyes are hard. Don't defend her. I'm not defending her. She breaks off, pressing her hands to her face. This is too much. I need time. Immediately, his expression softens. Of course. I'll show you to your room. He leads her down a hallway to a bedroom that's somehow both luxurious and calming soft gray walls. A massive bed with white linens. An ensuite bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people. This is yours, Elijah says. No one will disturb you. The door locks from the inside if you want privacy. The consideration surprises her. Where will you sleep? My room is at the other end of the hall. He pauses at the door. Unless you'd prefer I stay closer. Heat floods her cheeks. No. That's no. That almost smile again. Get some rest. We'll talk more tomorrow. He starts to leave, then stops. Una? Yes? I meant what I said, 1 year, and if you're not happy, you're free to go. His eyes hold hers. But I'm going to do everything in my power to make you want to stay. Then he's gone, the door clicking shut behind him. Una sinks onto the bed, her wedding dress pooling around her. Her phone is still off. Her mother is probably losing her mind. The press is probably already running headlines about the jilted bride and the mysterious billionaire. And she's here, married, to a man who looks at her like she's the answer to a question he's been asking his whole life. She should be terrified. Instead, as she lies back on the impossibly soft bed, what she feels is alive. For the first time in 3 years with Devon, she feels truly, dangerously alive. Una wakes to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the scent of coffee. For a disoriented moment, she thinks she's in a hotel. Then, memory crashes back the wedding. Elijah, the vows that changed everything. She sits up, still in her wrinkled wedding dress. Her reflection in the mirror across the room is a disaster makeup smudged, hair tangled, the picture of a woman whose life just imploded. A knock at the door makes her jump. Una? Elijah's voice, careful. May I come in? She should say no. She should demand answers, make rules, establish boundaries. Instead, yes. He enters carrying a tray, coffee, fruit, pastries from her favorite bakery. The gesture is so thoughtful, it makes her chest tight. "You remember how I take my coffee," she says. "Black, 1 sugar." He sets the tray on the bedside table. "I remember everything about you." That's slightly terrifying. "I prefer thorough." He settles into the chair by the window, giving her space. He's in dark slacks and a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows again, and somehow he makes casual look devastating. The tattoo on his wrist is more visible now, bold black ink, angular and geometric, wrapping around his forearm like armor. Yuna wraps her hands around the coffee mug, grateful for something to hold. What happens now? That depends on you. Elijah's gaze is steady. We can make this marriage real. Live together, build something. Or we can live separate lives for a year and part as strangers. Those are very different options. Yes. She studies him. "Which one do you want?" "I want you in my home, in my life, in my bed." The blunt honesty makes her breath catch. "But I won't force you. The choice is yours." That's a lot of power to give someone you barely know. "I know you better than you think." He leans forward, elbows on his knees. "I know you rebuilt your life after your father left. I know you turned down your mother's job offers because you wanted to succeed on your own terms. I know you volunteer at the Children's Hospital every Sunday to teach baking classes. I know you're afraid of failure and thunderstorms and being alone." Her hands tighten on the mug. "You investigated me. Thoroughly. That's invasive. It's necessary." His voice is unapologetic. "I don't make billion-dollar decisions without research. Why would I approach marriage differently?" The comparison should offend her. Instead, it's oddly reassuring. He takes this as seriously as his business. "What else do you know?" she asks. "You're more talented than you give yourself credit for. Your lemon lavender cake won 3 regional awards. Your mother tried to take credit for your success, and you let her because you hate conflict. Devon proposed to you at a charity gala in front of 500 people, and you said yes even though you didn't want to because you felt trapped." His eyes darken. "You've spent your whole life making yourself smaller to make other people comfortable, and I want to give you space to be as big as you actually are." Tears prick her eyes. No one has ever seen her so clearly. "Why?" Her voice cracks. "Why do you care?" Elijah is quiet for a long moment. "My grandmother raised me after my parents died in a car accident when I was 12. She worked 3 jobs to keep us fed. Never complained, never asked for anything. She built me into someone who could stand in a room full of wolves and not flinch." He meets Yuna's eyes. "But she also taught me that the strongest people are the ones who give without being asked, who love without being thanked, who disappear piece by piece for everyone else until there's nothing left." His jaw tightens. "I watched that happen to her. Watched her wear herself down to nothing so I could have everything." His voice roughens. "I swore I'd never let someone I cared about do that again. But then I saw you, and I recognized it immediately, a woman giving and giving and getting nothing back, and I couldn't look away." The vulnerability in his confession undoes her. "I don't know how to do this," she admits. "I was with Devon for 3 years, and I didn't really know him at all. Then let me be different." Elijah stands, crossing to her. He kneels beside the bed, bringing himself to her eye level. "Let me be honest with you. Let me show you who I am, the good and the bad, and you do the same. No games, no pretending." She searches his face. "You make it sound simple." "It won't be simple, but it will be real." His hand covers hers. "That's what I'm offering you, Yuna, something real." Her phone buzzes on the nightstand. She glances at it, 53 missed calls from her mother. Elijah's jaw tightens. "You should talk to her." "I don't know what to say." "The truth. That you made your choice." "Did I?" She looks at him. "Or did you make it for me?" "I gave you an option when you had none. What you do with it is up to you." He stands, stepping back. "I have meetings this morning. Take time, think, decide what you want. I'll be back this afternoon." He leaves, and the room feels colder without him. Yuna finishes her coffee, then forces herself to shower. There are clothes in the closet her size, her style, things she would have chosen herself. The thoroughness of Elijah's preparation is both impressive and unsettling. She dresses in jeans and a soft cream sweater, then picks up her phone. Her mother answers on the first ring. "Yuna, what the hell were you thinking?" The sound of her mother's voice makes her spine straighten. "It's Yuna Calloway now." Silence. Then, "That marriage isn't legal. I'm having it annulled." "On what grounds?" "Coercion. Fraud. That man manipulated you." "No." Her voice is steel. "Devon manipulated me. You manipulated me. Elijah was the only person honest with me yesterday. He told you." Her mother's voice goes cold. "About your deal?" "Yes. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? I was trying to save the company, save our family." "By selling me?" Rage bubbles up, hot and fierce. "I'm not a business asset, Ioma. I'm your daughter." "And you threw that away for a man you don't know?" "I threw it away because the man I did know left me at the altar." Her voice breaks. "Devon was sleeping with someone else for 8 months. 8 months, and I didn't see it. What does that say about me?" Her mother is quiet. "Elijah offered me a choice." Yuna continues, calmer now. "Stay married for a year, see if it works. If it doesn't, I leave with enough money to never worry again. That's more than you or Devon ever gave me. Yuna, I need space. From you, from this mess, from all of it." She takes a breath. "Don't call me. I'll reach out when I'm ready." She hangs up before her mother can respond. Her hands are shaking, but she feels lighter, freer. The penthouse is quiet. Yuna explores, finding a state-of-the-art kitchen that makes her pastry chef heart sing, a library with first editions that must be worth a fortune, a gym with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. In Elijah's office, she finds files on his desk. She knows she shouldn't look, but curiosity wins. The top file is labeled with her name. Inside are photographs. Her at the farmer's market, her teaching her Sunday baking class, her laughing with friends at a coffee shop, candid moments spanning months. Her stomach twists. This is surveillance, obsession. But as she keeps flipping, she finds something else notes in Elijah's handwriting. Bold, angular strokes. Observations about her routines, her preferences, things that make her smile. And at the bottom, a single line. She deserves better than what she's settling for. The tenderness in those words makes her chest ache. She hears the door open. Elijah is back earlier than expected, and when he sees her in his office, file in hand, he goes still. "I'm sorry," she says quickly. "I shouldn't have." "No." He crosses to her. "You have every right. This is your life I've been documenting." She holds up the file. "This is intense." "I know. It's borderline stalking." "I know that too." He doesn't look away. "But I needed to understand you. I needed to know if what I felt was real or just an obsession with an idea." "And?" His hand reaches out, fingertips barely grazing her cheek. "It's real. You're real. And I'm in so far over my head I can't see the surface anymore." The confession steals her breath. "I scare you," he says quietly. "Yes." "Good. You should be scared. I'm not safe, Yuna. I'm possessive and controlling, and I've done things that would horrify you." His thumb traces her jawline. "But I would never hurt you, and I would destroy anyone who tried." She should pull away. This is too much, too fast, too dangerous. Instead, she leans into his touch. "What are we doing?" she whispers. "I don't know." His forehead rests against hers. "But I want to find out." When he kisses her, it's different from yesterday, slower, deeper, a question instead of a claim. She opens for him, her hands fisting in his shirt, and the world narrows to the heat of his mouth, the strength of his arms, the way he holds her like she's precious and breakable and entirely his. When they break apart, they're both breathing hard. "I'm not ready," she says. "Fa? Whatever this becomes, I'm not ready." "Then we'll go slow." His lips brush her temple. "As slow as you need." It's a promise. And somehow, she believes him. 3 days later, Yuna stands in the kitchen of the penthouse, flour dusting her hands, and realizes she's starting to feel at home. It's terrifying. Elijah has kept his word about going slow. He leaves for work early, comes home late, always knocking before entering a room she's in. They eat dinner together, takeout mostly, though last night she made pasta and he looked at her like she'd created magic. They talk about everything and nothing. She learns he speaks 3 languages, hates mushrooms, and reads philosophy before bed like it's casual entertainment. She learns he watches her like she might disappear. Now she's making croissants because the kitchen demanded it, and because baking steadies her when everything else is chaos. The door opens. Elijah walks in, loosening his tie, and stops when he sees her. "You're baking," he says, observant. She doesn't look up from the dough she's folding. He moves closer, leaning against the counter. "What are you making?" "Croissants. The dough needs to rest between folds, so it'll be a few hours." "Can I help?" She finally looks at him. He shed his jacket, rolled his sleeves up, and he looks unfairly good in her kitchen. The tattoo on his forearm is fully visible now. Geometric lines that remind her of Korean traditional patterns, angular and deliberate. "Do you know how to bake?" "No, but I'm a quick study." She shouldn't find that charming. She does anyway. "Wash your hands." He does, then returns to her side. She shows him how to fold the dough, their hands brushing as they work. The silence is comfortable, easy. "Your mother called my office today," Elijah says quietly. Yuna's hands still. What did she want? To negotiate. She's willing to drop the annulment attempt if I agree to certain conditions. What conditions? Access to you, regular family dinners, a public statement that this marriage was a mutual decision. Elijah's voice is careful. I told her no. She looks at him. Why? Because you asked for space from her. I won't undermine that. The consideration makes her throat tight. She's probably furious. Undoubtedly. Elijah resumes folding the dough, following her earlier demonstration with surprising precision. But she doesn't get to dictate your life anymore. She wants to ask what he means by that, but she's not sure she's ready for the answer. They work in silence for a while, the rhythm soothing. When the dough is properly folded, Yuna wraps it and places it in the refrigerator. Now what? Elijah asks. We wait. It needs to chill for 2 hours before the next fold. He checks his watch. I have a conference call in an hour. But after that, I'm free. He meets her eyes. Have dinner with me. A real dinner, not takeout. Here? There's a restaurant I think you'd like, unless you'd rather stay in? She should say no. She should maintain distance, keep this arrangement transactional. But the hope in his eyes undoes her. Okay, she says. Dinner. His smile is rare and devastating, full and warm and completely unguarded. It transforms his face, and Yuna's breath catches at how handsome he is when the walls come down. I'll make reservations. 2 hours later, Yuna is staring at her closet in mild panic. She has nothing appropriate for dinner with a billionaire. The clothes Elijah provided are beautiful but too casual, and her own wardrobe is limited to what she grabbed from her apartment, jeans, sweaters, nothing fancy. A knock at her door. Yuna? May I come in? Yes. Elijah enters carrying a garment bag. I took the liberty of having something sent over. You're under no obligation to wear it, but he holds out the bag. She takes it, suspicious. Inside is a dress that makes her breath catch midnight blue silk that will hug her curves, elegant without being ostentatious. Exactly her style. How did you know my size? I pay attention. He looks almost nervous. If you don't like it, it's perfect. And it is. Annoyingly perfect. Thank you. He nods, retreating. We leave in 30 minutes. The dress fits like it was made for her. Probably because it was. Yuna does her makeup, lets her dark hair fall in loose waves past her shoulders. And when she emerges from her room, Elijah is waiting in the living room. He turns, and the look on his face makes her feel like the most beautiful woman alive. You're stunning, he says, voice rough. Heat floods her cheeks. You clean up nice yourself. He's in a black suit, white shirt open at the collar, and he looks like he belongs on the cover of a magazine, dangerous and refined in equal measure. The tattoo peeks out beneath his sleeve, and Yuna finds herself wanting to trace it with her fingers. The restaurant is intimate soft lighting, private booths, a menu that doesn't list prices. The kind of place where everyone knows Elijah's name and treats him with deference that borders on reverence. They're seated in a corner booth, secluded from the other diners. Elijah orders wine without looking at the list, and when it arrives, it's the best thing Yuna's ever tasted. "Tell me about your bakery," Elijah says. She blinks. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. How you started it, what you love about it, your plans for the future." So she tells him about scraping together savings to lease a tiny storefront, about the first day she opened and only 3 people came in, about building a loyal customer base through farmers markets and word of mouth, about her dream of expanding, maybe opening a second location, but being too afraid to take the risk. Elijah listens like every word matters, like she matters. "Why are you afraid?" he asks. "What if I fail? What if I expand and lose everything? What if you succeed?" His eyes hold hers. "What if you're capable of more than you've let yourself believe?" The words settle into her chest, warm and unsettling. Their food arrives dishes that are more art than meal, and they eat and talk and laugh, and Yuna realizes with a jolt that she's having fun, that she likes Elijah, that this terrifying stranger is becoming someone she looks forward to seeing. It should scare her more than it does. "Can I ask you something?" she says over dessert. "Anything." "That scar." She gestures to the one cutting through his eyebrow. "How did you get it?" His expression darkens briefly. "A hostile takeover gone wrong. The other party decided violence was an acceptable negotiation tactic." "What happened to them?" "They're no longer in business." His tone makes it clear the conversation is over. She should push. She should demand to know what kind of man she married, but the shadows in his eyes stop her. "Your turn," he says. "Ask me anything." She thinks carefully. "Why did you really want to marry me? And don't say it's because you saw my picture. That's not enough to build a marriage on." Elijah is quiet for a long time. "My grandmother used to bake," he finally says. "Bread, mostly. Cornbread, sourdough, challah on holidays. She'd make it every Sunday morning, and the smell would fill the entire apartment. It was the only time she seemed truly at peace." His jaw tightens. "She died when I was 22, 2 months after I closed my first deal. I'd been working so hard to make enough money to take care of her that I barely went home. By the time I realized how sick she was, it was too late." Yuna's chest aches. "I've spent the last 10 years building an empire she would have been proud of," Elijah continues. "But I've never forgiven myself for missing the time I should have given her." He meets Yuna's eyes. "Then I saw your file. Saw you in your bakery, covered in flour, laughing with customers. Saw you doing exactly what you loved, pouring yourself into something that mattered. And I thought," his voice roughens, "I thought maybe if I could be near someone like you, someone who still finds joy in the simple things, maybe I could stop punishing myself for losing it." "Ow!" Tears prick her eyes. "Elijah? I know it's selfish," he says quickly. "I know I have no right to ask you to be part of my healing, but I can't help wanting you anyway." She reaches across the table, taking his hand. His fingers close around hers, desperate and warm. "I'm not a savior," she says softly. "I'm just a baker who's as lost as you are. Then maybe we can be lost together." The vulnerability in his voice breaks something open in her chest. When they leave the restaurant, Elijah's hand finds the small of her back, guiding her to the car. The touch is possessive and gentle, and Yuna leans into it without thinking. In the car, the privacy screen stays down. Elijah's driver navigates the city streets while Yuna watches the lights blur past, hyper-aware of Elijah beside her, the warmth radiating from his body, the cologne that wraps around her like smoke, the way his thumb traces absent circles on her knee. "Thank you," she says quietly, "for tonight, for listening. Thank you for giving me a chance." She looks at him. "I haven't decided yet. About the year, about us." "I know." His hand finds hers in the darkness. "But you're still here. That's enough for now. When they reach the penthouse, the elevator ride is silent and charged. Yuna's heart hammers as they walk to their separate rooms. At her door, she stops, turns. Elijah is watching her with barely restrained hunger, his dark eyes almost black in the dim hallway light, his jaw tight, his hands flexed at his sides like he's physically holding himself back. "Good night," she says. "Good night, Yuna." She slips inside, closing the door between them, and leans against it. Her body is humming, her mind racing. This is dangerous. He's dangerous, but she's never felt more alive. In the morning, she finds a note slipped under her door. "Your croissants were perfect. You're perfect. E." She traces the bold, angular letters with her finger, smiling despite herself. Maybe being lost together isn't the worst thing. The next week passes in a blur of domesticity that terrifies Yuna with how normal it feels. She bakes. Elijah works. They have dinner together every night, sometimes at restaurants, sometimes in the penthouse with food she makes or he orders. They talk about books and movies and childhood memories. They don't talk about the marriage, the year agreement, or what happens next. It's a fragile peace, and Yuna knows it can't last. The breaking point comes on a Wednesday. Yuna is at the farmer's market, sourcing ingredients for a new recipe, when someone calls her name. "Yuna! Oh my God, Yuna!" She turns to find her best friend Mina running toward her, face flushed with equal parts excitement and worry. "Where the hell have you been?" Mina demands. "You disappeared. I've been calling and texting. Do you know how worried I was?" Guilt crashes over her. "I'm so sorry. Everything happened so fast." "You got married?" Mina's voice rises. "You married some billionaire no one's ever heard of, and you didn't even tell me? I had to find out from the news." People are staring. Yuna grabs Mina's arm, pulling her toward a quieter corner. "I know. I'm sorry. It's complicated." "Complicated? Yuna, you were supposed to marry Devon. Then he didn't show up, and suddenly you're married to—" Mina pulls out her phone, showing Yuna a gossip site. The headline reads, "Jilted Bride's Billionaire Rescue. Love Story or Power Play?" Yuna's stomach drops. There are photos of her and Elijah leaving the chapel, entering his building at the restaurant last night. Someone's been following them. "This is insane," Mina says. "Please tell me you know what you're doing." "I don't," Yuna admits, "but I'm trying to figure it out." Mina's expression softens. "Are you safe? Is he treating you well?" "Yes, he's—" Yuna trails off, not sure how to explain Elijah. "He's intense, but he's been nothing but kind to me." Kind doesn't mean good. "I know." Mina studies her. "You like him." It's not a question. Yuna's silence is answer enough. "Shit," Mina breathes. "You really like him." "I don't know what I feel," Yuna says honestly. "But I need time to figure it out. Can you just trust me?" Mina pulls her into a fierce hug. "Call me. Actually call me, not just text. I need to know you're okay." "I will, I promise." They exchange a few more words, make plans for lunch next week, and then Mina leaves. Yuna finishes her shopping in a daze, the gossip headline burning in her mind. When she returns to the penthouse, Elijah is in his office on a video call. She doesn't interrupt, just starts prepping ingredients for dinner. An hour later, he emerges, tie loosened, looking exhausted. Dark circles are forming under his eyes, and there's a tension in his shoulders she hasn't seen before. "Rough day?" she asks. "Merger negotiations?" The other CEO is being difficult. He rolls his shoulders, wincing. "How was the market?" "Fine." She hesitates. "I ran into Mina." His expression sharpens. "And?" She saw the gossip sites. Apparently, were a headline. Elijah's jaw tightens. "I'll handle it." "How?" "I have a PR team. They'll issue a statement." "Saying what? That you crashed my wedding and I married you on impulse?" Yuna's voice rises. "There's no good spin for this, Elijah." "Then we tell the truth." "Which truth? That my mother sold me to you? That you've been watching me for months? That this marriage is a transaction with an expiration date?" The words come out harsher than she intended. Elijah goes very still. Is that what you think this is? His voice is quiet, dangerous. A transaction? I don't know what this is. Frustration boils over. We're playing house, pretending this is normal, but it's not. We barely know each other. We're married because you manipulated the situation, and I was too humiliated to say no. And now the whole world is watching, and I don't know how to… Stop! Elijah crosses to her, gripping her shoulders. Breathe. She realizes she's shaking. I know this is hard, he says, softer now. I know I put you in an impossible position. But don't diminish what's happening between us. This isn't just a transaction, Yuna, not for me. Then what is it? I don't have a word for it yet. His hands slide up to cup her face. But it's real. Tell me you feel it too. She does. God help her, she does. The pull between them is undeniable, electric, terrifying in its intensity. I'm scared, she whispers. Suongi. The admission surprises her. Of what? That you'll leave. That I'll do something to drive you away. That this will end before I figured out how to make you stay. His thumb brushes her cheek. I've never wanted anything as much as I want you, and I don't know what to do with that. The raw honesty breaks her. She kisses him. It's different from before. Desperate, searching, a question, and an answer all at once. Elijah groans against her mouth, pulling her closer, one hand sliding into her hair, the other pressing flat against her lower back. She loses herself in the heat of him, the taste of him, the way his body curves around hers, like she was made to fit there. When they break apart, they're both breathing hard. I need time, she says, real time. No more pretending this is simple. Okay? And I want to go back to work, to my bakery. I can't just hide here forever. His jaw tightens, but he nods. I'll arrange security. I don't need. Yes, you do. His voice brooks no argument. The press will find you. Your mother will try to contact you, and I won't risk your safety to preserve your independence. She wants to argue, but she sees the fear in his eyes raw and unguarded and desperate. He's terrified of losing her. Fine, she says, but just security, no interference in how I run my business. Agreed. They stand there, foreheads touching, and Yuna thinks maybe this is how trust is built, one compromise at a time. The next morning, Yuna returns to her bakery for the first time since the wedding. There's a security detail stationed outside, discreet but present. A man in a dark jacket who nods when she enters, and inside, her staff is buzzing with barely contained curiosity. Yuna! Her assistant manager, Tony, rushes to hug her. Oh my God, we've been so worried. Are you okay? Is it true you married Elijah Calloway? Yes, to both questions. The staff erupts. Yuna holds up a hand. I know this is strange. I know you all have questions, but I need you to trust that I'm okay, and I need to get back to work. Can we do that? Slowly. They nod. Yuna ties on her apron and loses herself in the familiar rhythm of baking, measuring ingredients, mixing dough, shaping loaves. The physical work grounds her, reminding her who she is beyond the chaos of the last 2 weeks. By noon, the bakery is full of customers, some regular, some clearly there to gawk at the billionaire's wife. Yuna ignores the whispers and focuses on her work. Then the door opens and her mother walks in, Yuna's hand still on the dough she's kneading. Yuna! Ayuma! Her mother looks older than she did 2 weeks ago. Tired. The usual sharp precision of her appearance is slightly off lipstick. Not quite perfect, hair escaping its careful arrangement. She looks like a woman who hasn't been sleeping. Can we talk? Her mother asks. Every head in the bakery turns their way. Yuna wipes her hands on her apron. In the back, she leads her to the small office, closing the door. They face each other across the cluttered desk. I'm sorry, her mother says. The apology surprises her. Her mother doesn't apologize, not for anything. For what specifically? Yuna asks. For the deal with Calloway, for not being honest with you, for… She breaks off. For failing you as a mother. Tears prick Yuna's eyes, but she blinks them back. Why did you do it? Why did you agree to his terms? The company was drowning. I was desperate. And when he said he wanted to meet you, I thought… Her mother runs a hand through her hair, a rare gesture of helplessness. I thought maybe it would be good for you. A man like that, with that kind of power and wealth, I thought you'd be taken care of. I don't need to be taken care of. I need to be respected. I know that now. She meets Yuna's eyes. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. Yuna studies her. Did Elijah put you up to this? No. I haven't spoken to him since he threatened to bury my company. That sounds like Elijah. What do you want, Ioma? To know if you're happy, or at least safe. The question catches her off guard. I'm both, I think. You think? It's complicated. She sighs. But he's been good to me, better than I expected. Her mother nods slowly. I met him once before all this, to negotiate the deal. He's ruthless in business. I could see that immediately. But when he talked about you, she pauses, something unreadable crossing her face. He looked at your picture like it was the only thing in the room that mattered, like nothing else existed. Yuna's heart squeezes. Be careful, her mother says. Men with that kind of power don't love in normal ways. I'm not sure I want normal anymore. Her mother almost smiles, a ghost of the warm expression Yuna remembers from childhood before the business consumed everything. Then I hope he deserves you. After her mother leaves, Yuna stands in the office, processing. The conversation didn't fix everything, but it was a start. A crack in the wall. Her phone buzzes. A text from Elijah. How's your first day back? She smiles. Chaotic, but good. Dinner tonight? I'll cook. Her eyebrows rise. You cook? I'm full of surprises. She laughs, a real, unguarded laugh that makes Tony poke her head in to check if everything's okay. See you at 7. When Yuna arrives at the penthouse that evening, the smell of garlic and something rich and savory fills the air. She finds Elijah in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up past his elbows, a towel slung over his shoulder, focused on whatever he's stirring on the stove. The tattoos on his forearms are fully visible. She can see now that there are more than she realized, winding up past his elbows in bold geometric patterns that catch the kitchen light. You're actually cooking, she says. He glances up, smiling. Surprised? Shocked, honestly. I'm not completely helpless in the kitchen. I just prefer having you do it. He tilts his head toward the stove. Tonight's special, though. I wanted to make it myself. She moves to his side, curious. The pot is filled with something dark and fragrant, braised meat in a rich sauce. Sweet potatoes caramelizing in the pan beside it. What is this? Oxtail stew, my grandmother's recipe. His voice is quiet, reverent. She made it every Sunday, said it was the dish that kept the family together. The admission is vulnerable in a way that makes Yuna's chest tight. Can I help? Just keep me company. She settles on a stool, watching him work. His movements are precise, confident. Cooking is probably like everything else for him. Something he approaches with total focus and quiet intensity. My mother came to see me today, she says. Elijah's hand stills on the spoon. What did she want? To apologize. Did you accept? I'm thinking about it. She traces a pattern on the counter. She said you threatened to bury her company. I did. Why? Because she tried to take you away from me. Elijah's voice is matter of fact. No one takes what's mine. The possessiveness should bother her. It doesn't. I'm not a possession. No. He turns to face her fully, leaning back against the counter. You're so much more than that. You're the first thing I think about when I wake up and the last thing before I sleep. You're the reason I leave work early and the reason I've started hoping for things I thought I'd never have. His eyes burn into hers. You're everything, Yuna, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep you. Her breath catches. That's intense. I know. He doesn't apologize. She slides off the stool, crossing to him. What if I can't be everything? What if I disappoint you? Impossible. Elijah. You're already more than I deserve. His hand cups her face, thumb tracing the line of her cheekbone. Whatever you give me, it's enough. She kisses him then, unable to resist. He responds immediately, one hand tangling in her hair, the other pulling her flush against him. The kiss deepens, turns hungry. and Yuna's world narrows to the taste of him, the feel of his body against hers, the way he holds her like she's the only solid thing in a world that keeps shifting. The timer on the stove beeps. They break apart, breathless. "Dinner," Elijah says, voice rough. "Right. Dinner." But the heat in his eyes promises this conversation isn't over. They eat on the balcony. The city lights spread out below them like scattered diamonds. The oxtail stew is perfect tender meat falling off the bone, the sauce deep and complex, the kind of meal that tastes like love made edible. "This is incredible," Yuna says around a bite. "My grandmother's recipe. She'd make it for anyone who needed it. Neighbors, friends, strangers she met on the street." Elijah smiles, and there's something boyish in it, something unguarded. She believed food was the most honest thing in the world. You couldn't fake a good meal. "She sounds like an amazing woman. She was the strongest person I've ever known." He sets down his fork. "Stronger than me, that's for sure." Yuna watches him, the way the city light plays across his features, the way his expression softens when he talks about his grandmother. She's seeing past the billionaire, past the ruthless CEO, to the man underneath. And the man underneath is someone she wants to know. "Can I ask you something?" she says. "Always." "That tattoo." She reaches across the table, fingers hovering over his forearm without touching. The geometric pattern, it looks like Korean traditional design, he says, and something flickers in his eyes, surprise maybe, that she recognized it. "My grandmother grew up in Seoul before she moved to the States. She brought her culture with her." The tattoo is based on a pattern she embroidered on everything: tablecloths, pillowcases, the quilt she made for my baby blanket. Yuna's heart does something complicated. "You got a Korean design tattooed on your body." "I did." He meets her eyes. "Because the people who shaped me aren't always the ones who share your blood. Sometimes they're the ones who teach you where beauty lives." The words settle over her like a blanket. She thinks of her father, the American who left, and her mother, the Korean woman who stayed but never quite knew how to be warm. And she thinks of Elijah, who carries his grandmother's legacy on his skin. "I think we're more alike than either of us realized," she says quietly. His hand covers hers on the table, warm and sure. "I've been counting on that." They sit in comfortable silence for a while after that, the city humming below them. When they finally go inside, the air between them has shifted, charged, with something new, something that feels less like uncertainty and more like recognition. At her bedroom door, Yuna stops, turns. Elijah is watching her with that look, the one that's equal parts hunger and restraint, like he's on the edge of something and holding himself back with sheer force of will. "Stay with me tonight," he says. His voice is low, careful. "Not like that. Not yet. Just..." He exhales. "Sleep beside me. Let me hold you. I need to know you're real." How can she say no to that? They end up in his room, a space she hasn't seen before. It's minimalist, all clean lines and dark colors, but there's a photograph on the nightstand that catches her eye. An older black woman with kind eyes and a wide, beautiful smile, her hands dusted with flour, a loaf of bread cradled in her arms like it's something precious. "Your grandmother," Yuna says. "Yes." She looks happy there. "She was. That was her kitchen." His voice is soft. "I think she'd like you. I wish I could have met her." "Me too." They lie down together, still fully clothed, and Elijah wraps himself around her like he's afraid she'll evaporate. Yuna settles against him, feeling the steady beat of his heart against her back, the warmth of his breath in her hair. "Thank you," he murmurs. "For what?" "For being here. For trying. For not running when you had every reason to." She turns in his arms, looking up at him. In the dim light, his face is open, unguarded, younger and softer than she's ever seen him. The scar through his eyebrow, the sharp planes of his jaw, the way his dark eyes hold hers with an intensity that steals air from her lungs. "I'm not going anywhere," she says. "Promise?" "For now?" "Yes." It's the best she can offer. And from the way he kisses her soft, reverent, devastatingly gentle, it's enough. The weeks that follow are a revelation. Yuna stops fighting the pull and lets herself fall into the rhythm of their life together. She wakes up in Elijah's arms, eats breakfast watching the sunrise over Charleston, then spends her days at the bakery doing work that feeds her soul. Evenings are for each other, cooking, talking, exploring the city hand in hand, like any other couple pretending the world isn't watching their every move. Elijah is attentive in ways that constantly surprise her. He remembers her favorite teas, the exact temperature she likes her milk steamed, the way she always kicks off her shoes the moment she walks through the door. He sits with her while she works on new recipes, offering honest feedback that's somehow both blunt and kind. He drives her to work himself some mornings, even though he has a driver, just so he can keep her close a little longer. "You're staring," she says one morning over coffee. "I know." He doesn't look away. "I'm memorizing you." That's either very romantic or mildly concerning. Both, probably. His mouth twitches. "I've never had something worth memorizing before." The words land somewhere deep in her chest, warm and permanent. One evening, 3 weeks into their strange new life, Yuna is baking in the penthouse kitchen a 7-layer honey cake for no reason other than the mood struck when her phone rings. The name on the screen makes her blood freeze. Devon. Her hands hover over the mixing bowl. She shouldn't answer. There's nothing he could say that she wants to hear. But curiosity, and something sharper than need to know exactly what kind of man she almost married, makes her pick up. "Yuna." His voice is smooth, practiced, unchanged. "I owe you an apology." "You owe me more than that." A beat of silence. "I heard about your marriage. Congratulations." The word sounds wrong in his mouth. "Is there a reason you're calling, Devon?" "I wanted to warn you." His tone drops, conspiratorial. "Calloway isn't who he seems. There are things about him, about his business dealings, his past, that you should know before you get any deeper in." She grips the phone tighter. "And how would you know anything about that?" "I do my research." "You do your research?" The irony is bitter. The man who cheated on me for 8 months, who left me at the altar without a word, is calling to warn me about my new husband. "Yuna." "Don't." Her voice is steel. "Don't call me again." She hangs up and stares at the phone for a long moment, her heart hammering. Then she sets it face down on the counter and goes back to baking. But the unease lingers. When Elijah comes home that night, she watches him more carefully, the way he moves through rooms like he owns them. The way his phone disappears into his jacket pocket whenever she's nearby, always face down, always silent. The way certain calls make his jaw tighten and his voice drop to something cold and final. What doesn't she know about him? The question gnaws at her for days. She doesn't ask. Not directly. Instead, she pays attention. Listens to the undertones in his phone conversations. Notices the men in suits who appear at restaurants before they arrive, who sweep rooms while Elijah and Yuna are still in the car. Watches the way other business people react to his name, not just respect, fear. On a Tuesday evening, she finds a document on his desk that she wasn't meant to see. It's a merger agreement, standard corporate language on the surface. But buried in the fine print is a clause that makes her stomach drop. A subsidiary acquisition that would give Calloway Group controlling interest in 3 financial institutions currently under federal investigation. Yuna reads it twice, then a third time. She doesn't know enough about corporate law to understand the full implications, but she knows enough to recognize that this isn't a simple business deal. This is something larger, something that could have consequences far beyond boardrooms. She closes the document and leaves his office before he returns. That night, lying beside him in the dark, she listens to his breathing slow into sleep and wonders, does he know? Is this the kind of man he's chosen to be? Or is he being manipulated by someone else? The questions keep her awake until dawn. The next morning, she makes a decision. She doesn't confront Elijah. Not yet. Instead, she calls Mina. "I need a favor," she says. "Something discreet." "Namit. I need you to look into Calloway Group. Not the public stuff, the real stuff. Anything that's been buried or sealed or quietly swept under the rug." A pause. "Yuna, are you okay?" "I don't know yet. That's what I'm trying to figure out." Mina is quiet for a moment. Then, "I know someone, a journalist who covers corporate crime. She's good, discreet. I'll reach out. Thank you. Be careful. I will. She hangs up, her hand steady despite the fear coiling in her chest. Whatever Elijah is hiding, she needs to know. Not to destroy him, not to run. Because if she's going to stay, and some part of her desperately wants to stay, she needs to choose him with her eyes open. The journalist's name is Rachel Chen, and she calls Yuna 2 days later with information that changes everything. Callaway Group is clean, Rachel says bluntly. Aggressively, almost suspiciously clean. Every deal, every acquisition, every financial transaction for the last decade has been audited independently. Whatever you're worried about, it's not there. Oh? Yuna frowns. But I saw a merger agreement. The subsidiary acquisition? That's actually the opposite of what you might think. Callaway's buying those institutions specifically to restructure them. Pull them out from under the federal investigation by flooding them with legitimate capital and new management. Rachel pauses. It's expensive. It'll cost him billions. And it doesn't benefit him financially at all. Then why do it? That's the interesting question. Rachel's voice drops. Those 3 institutions have significant community banking operations, local branches in predominantly Black neighborhoods across the South. If they go under, which they will, without intervention, thousands of families lose their banking access, their generational wealth, everything. The pieces click into place. He's doing it to protect the communities, Yuna whispers. That's what it looks like, though I'd confirm it with him directly. After the call, Yuna sits on the balcony for a long time, watching the city below, turning this new understanding over in her mind. Elijah isn't hiding something sinister. He's hiding something generous, something that costs him enormously and benefits him nothing except the knowledge that he's preventing devastation for thousands of people who will never know his name. That night, when he comes home, she's waiting on the balcony with wine. Tell me about the merger, she says. He goes very still. Then, slowly, he sits beside her. How much do you know? Enough. Why didn't you tell me? Elijah stares out at the city. Because it's complicated, and because I didn't want you to think I was trying to be someone I'm not. Someone generous? He almost laughs. Someone who cares about more than profit. You are someone who cares about more than profit, Elijah. Not everyone sees it that way. He takes the wine glass she offers, their fingers brushing. My board thinks I'm losing my mind, spending billions to save community banks that don't affect my bottom line. He shrugs. Let them think what they want. She reaches over, taking his hand. Your grandmother would be proud. Something cracks in his expression of Fisher in the armor he wears so well. He brings her hand to his mouth, pressing his lips against her knuckles. I'm trying to be worthy of that, he says quietly. Worthy of her, of you. You already are. He looks at her, really looks, with all his walls down and every carefully constructed defense stripped away. What she sees in his eyes makes her breath catch. It's not just want, it's not just possession. It's hope, raw and terrified and desperate. Stay, he says. It's barely a whisper. Not because of the deal, not because of the year. Stay because you want to. Yuna looks at this man, this complicated, damaged, extraordinary man who carries his grandmother's legacy on his skin and his heart on his sleeve when no one is watching. I'm staying, she says. And she means it. The danger, when it comes, doesn't arrive with fanfare. It starts with a phone call Elijah takes in his office that makes him go silent for 3 full minutes. When he emerges, his face is carved from granite. We need to talk, he says. They sit in the living room, side by side on the sofa, but not touching. Elijah's hands are clasped between his knees, and for the first time since she's known him, he looks uncertain. Devon contacted me this morning, he says. Yuna's spine goes rigid. About what? About us. About the merger. About... He pauses, choosing his words carefully. About information he claims to have that could destroy everything I'm building. What kind of information? Elijah meets her eyes. He says he has evidence linking my company to the very financial crimes I'm trying to fix. Fabricated evidence, I believe, but convincing enough to trigger a federal investigation if it goes public. Can he actually do that? He can try. Elijah's jaw tightens. The question is why? Yuna's mind races. He called me last week, warned me about you, said there were things about your past I should know. Something dark flickers in Elijah's expression. He's been planning this. The affair, the wedding day, all of it was positioning. What do you mean? Devon isn't just your ex-fiancé, Yuna. He's the CFO of one of the 3 institutions I'm trying to acquire. Elijah's voice is flat, controlled. When I started the acquisition process, he realized I was going to expose the corruption he's been running. So he needed a way to discredit me. The pieces fall into place with sickening clarity. He used me. Yes. He got engaged to me to get close to my mother's company, which was already in your orbit because of her deal with you. He waited until the wedding to make it public, knowing the scandal would draw attention to both of us. Yuna's hands are shaking, and now he's using that attention to plant false evidence. Exactly. The fury that rises in her is unlike anything she's felt before. Not heartbreak, not humiliation. Rage, cold and clear and absolute. What do we do, she asks. Elijah looks at her, really looks, searching her face for something. Whatever he finds there makes his shoulders drop a fraction, like he's been bracing for her to run and she hasn't. We fight back, he says. Together. Together, she repeats. It's not a question. But it gets dangerous, Yuna. If Devon goes public with his fabricated evidence, the press will tear us apart. My reputation, my company, everything I've built, it could all come down. And if you do nothing? The acquisition fails. Those community banks collapse. The people they serve lose everything. She looks at him, at the man who spent billions to protect strangers, who carries his grandmother's memory on his skin, who looks at her like she's the only fixed point in a spinning world. Then we don't let him win, she says. Something shifts in Elijah's eyes. Not just gratitude, recognition. Like he's seeing her for the first time, not as the woman he rescued at the altar, not as the bride he orchestrated into his life, but as his equal, his partner. Okay, he says. Here's what we need to do. The next 48 hours are a war. Elijah's legal team works around the clock and Yuna barely sleeps. She watches him operate, the way he commands a room, the way his mind moves 3 steps ahead of everyone else, the way he becomes something almost frightening in his intensity and focus. But she also sees the cracks, the moments when he rubs his eyes at 3 a.m, exhausted beyond concealment, the way he reaches for her hand under conference tables without looking, like touching her is the only thing keeping him grounded. She stays, not passively, not watching from the sidelines. On the second night, when Elijah's lawyers hit a dead end, trying to trace the fabricated evidence to its source, Yuna steps in. Let me talk to my mother, she says. Elijah looks up from the documents spread across his desk. Why? Because Devon's operation went through her company. The fabricated documents had to originate somewhere, and if they pass through her books, she'll know. She might not realize what she's looking at, but the trail will be there. His eyes sharpen. You think she's involved? I think she's been used, just like I was. Yuna meets his gaze steadily. She owes me the truth, and this time I think she'll give it. Elijah studies her for a long moment. Then he nods. Go. It's a single word, and it means everything. He's trusting her judgment, her intelligence, her ability to handle something dangerous without him hovering. The call to her mother is brief and devastating. I found it, her mother says 20 minutes later, her voice shaking. Devon's assistant, she embedded the files in our quarterly reports. I should have caught it. The numbers looked off, but I was so focused on the merger negotiations that I didn't dig deeper. Can you prove it? Yes. I have the original reports and the altered versions. The metadata will show exactly when and how the files were changed. Yuna closes her eyes. Send everything to Elijah's legal team. All of it. Yuna. Ioma. Her voice is firm but not unkind. Fix this. It's the least you can do. A long pause. Then, I will. I'm sorry. It's the second time her mother has apologized in a month. Yuna doesn't know if it's enough, but right now, it's what they have. She hangs up and walks back into Elijah's office. He's on the phone, pacing by the window, and when he sees her face, he stops mid-sentence. I have proof, she says. My mother is sending it now. Something extraordinary happens in his expression. The tension drains from his body like a tide going out, replaced by something that looks dangerously close to awe. He ends his phone call without a word. Then he crosses to her, takes her face in both hands, and kisses her. It's not gentle. It's not careful. It's desperate and grateful and burning, with everything he can't say: relief, admiration, a hunger that has nothing to do with physical desire, and everything to do with the fact that she just saved him. When they break apart, she's breathless. You saved me, he says, his forehead against hers. We saved each other, she corrects. His hands tighten on her face. Yuna, don't. She presses her finger to his lips. Don't ruin this moment by being eloquent. Just kiss me again. He does. Devon's fabricated evidence unravels within hours of Yuna's mother's files reaching the legal team. The metadata is damning clear proof of tampering, of fraud, of a deliberate attempt to sabotage Callaway Group's acquisition. Elijah's lawyers move fast. A cease and desist is filed. Then a countersuit. Then, quietly, a conversation with federal prosecutors that Devon never sees coming. By Friday morning, it's over. Devon is arrested at his office by FBI agents. His fabricated documents seized as evidence of wire fraud and securities manipulation. The news breaks across every outlet in Charleston, and for once, the headline isn't about Yuna and Elijah. It's about a man who tried to destroy thousands of lives to protect his own corruption, and failed. Yuna watches the news on the penthouse television, Elijah's arm around her shoulders, and feels something she hasn't felt in months. Justice. That evening, they celebrate quietly. No restaurants, no crowds. Elijah cooks again oxtail stew, his grandmother's recipe, and they eat on the balcony as the sun sets over Charleston, painting the sky in shades of gold and amber. I have something to ask you, Elijah says, setting down his fork. Yuna looks at him. The sunset catches the planes of his face, and she's struck again by how beautiful he is, not in the polished, untouchable way of magazine covers, but in the real way. The way that includes the scar and the shadows, and the fierce tenderness in his eyes when he looks at her. Okay, she says. The year is almost up. He reaches across the table, taking her hand. And I told you if you want to leave, you're free. No strings, I meant that. I know you did, but I don't want you to leave. His thumb traces circles on her palm. I want you to stay, not because of a deal or a timeline or anything my lawyers drew up. I want you to stay because you choose to, because this, he gestures between them, because this is real. And I want it to be permanent. Yuna's heart hammers. Are you proposing? I'm asking. His voice is quiet, steady, stripped of all the power and authority that usually surrounds him. Just a man, vulnerable and hopeful, asking for something he knows he doesn't deserve. Stay with me, Yuna. Be my wife. For real this time. She looks at him, at this man who crashed her wedding and became her world, who is ruthless in boardrooms and gentle in the dark, who carries his grandmother's legacy on his skin and her hope in his eyes. Yes, she says. The word is barely out before he's pulling her into his arms, kissing her like she's air and he's been drowning. When they finally break apart, laughing and breathless, the city glitters below them, a million lights, a million lives, a million stories unfolding in the Charleston dusk. I love you, Elijah says. The words come out rough, almost surprised, like he didn't plan to say them, but they escaped anyway. I love you, Yuna. I think I've loved you since before I knew your name. Her eyes burn with tears she doesn't try to fight. I love you too. He pulls a small velvet box from his jacket pocket, because of course he has a ring, because of course he planned this, because this is who he is. Inside is a ring that makes her breath catch a diamond, flanked by 2 small jade stones, set in platinum. Simple, elegant, and completely, unmistakably chosen for her. "The jade was my grandmother's," he says quietly, sliding it onto her finger. "She'd want you to have it." Yuna looks at the ring on her hand, the old and the new, the inherited and the chosen, the past and the future woven together in a single band of light. "It's perfect," she whispers. Elijah kisses her hand, then pulls her close, and they sit together in the golden light, 2 people who found each other in the wreckage of their lives and built something extraordinary from the ruins. Not perfect, not simple, but real, and for the first time in either of their lives, that's more than enough. 6 months later, on a Sunday morning, Yuna opens her eyes to find Elijah watching her. He does this sometimes, watches her sleep with an expression so open and unguarded that it makes her chest ache, like he's still not entirely sure she's real. "Morning," she murmurs. "Morning." His hand slides through her hair, gentle. "I have something to show you." He leads her to the kitchen, where a laptop sits open on the counter. On the screen is a real estate listing, a storefront 3 times the size of her current bakery, with a beautiful open kitchen, floor-to-ceiling windows, and a small apartment upstairs. "Elijah, the second location you've been dreaming about." He leans against the counter, watching her face. "I found it last week. It's yours if you want it. No strings, no corporate involvement, just your name on the lease and your vision in the kitchen." She stares at the listing, then at him. "You did this for me. I did this because you deserve it, because you've been building something incredible and you deserve the space to make it bigger." Tears prick her eyes, not from sadness, but from the sheer, overwhelming reality of being seen, of being known, of being loved by someone who pays attention to the things that matter most. She crosses to him, wrapping her arms around his neck. "Thank you." "Always," he murmurs against her hair. They stand like that for a long time, wrapped in each other, the morning light streaming through the windows, the city waking up around them. Later that afternoon, they walk through the new space together. Yuna runs her hands along the countertops, imagines where the ovens will go, pictures the space filled with warmth and the smell of fresh bread and the sound of laughter. Elijah watches her with that look, the one that's equal parts adoration and quiet wonder, like she's performing a miracle simply by existing. "I want to open in the spring," she says, turning to face him. "And I want to do something different, not just a bakery." "What did you have in mind?" "A community space. Baking classes, yes, but also cooking classes, business workshops for local entrepreneurs, especially women. A place where people can learn, connect, grow." She takes a breath. "Something my grandmother would have loved." Elijah's expression shifts, something raw and tender breaking through the surface. "Your grandmother?" "My Halmione. She ran a small tea house in Busan before she moved to Charleston. She always said the kitchen was where people found each other." Yuna smiles. "I want to build that. Something that matters beyond profit." Elijah steps close, cupping her face in his hands. "You're extraordinary. I learned from the best." He kisses her slow and deep and unhurried, and Yuna feels the last of her walls dissolve. Not in a dramatic rush, but in a quiet, inevitable surrender. The kind that doesn't feel like losing yourself, but like finally finding the place you were always meant to be. When they break apart, Elijah's forehead rests against hers. "Marry me again," he says. "A real wedding this time. No tricks, no manipulation, no chaos. Just us, in front of the people who matter." She laughs. "We're already married." "I know, but I want to do it right." His eyes hold hers. "I want to stand next to you in front of everyone and say it out loud that you're mine and I'm yours. Not because of a deal, because we chose this. We chose each other." The earnestness in his voice, this man who commands boardrooms and terrifies rivals, reduced to something soft and hopeful and completely vulnerable, makes her heart swell until she can barely breathe. "Okay," she says. "A real wedding. But I'm baking the cake." His smile is radiant, full and warm and completely, devastatingly hers. "I wouldn't have it any other way." The wedding is held on a Saturday in October, in a small garden behind the penthouse that Elijah had secretly transformed into something magical white fairy lights strung through climbing jasmine. A stone path lined with candles, the Charleston skyline glittering behind them as dusk settles in. There are no 300 guests this time, just the people who matter. Mina stands as Yuna's maid of honor, crying openly and unapologetically. Yuna's mother sits in the front row, looking smaller and quieter than Yuna has ever seen her, but present, trying. Elijah's side is smaller, but no less fierce, his business partner Marcus, his lawyer Dana, a handful of people who have stood by him through decades of empire building and personal loss. The officiant is a woman Elijah found through his grandmother's church, warm and wise and completely unbothered by the billionaire status of the groom. Yuna walks the path alone in a dress she designed herself, simple ivory silk, no train, no veil. Just her, moving toward the man who changed her life in the space of a single breath. Elijah is waiting at the end of the path. He's in a dark suit, no tie, the collar of his shirt open. The tattoos on his forearms are visible, his grandmother's pattern, bold and proud. His eyes are bright with something that looks very much like tears. When she reaches him, he takes both her hands. "You're beautiful," he says, his voice cracking slightly. "You're crying," she whispers. "I'm not crying. Something is in my eye." "Both eyes?" "Shut up." But he's smiling that rare, devastating, completely unguarded smile that she's come to treasure more than anything else in the world. The vows are simple, no script, no rehearsed words. Just the truth, spoken aloud in the golden light. "I promise to choose you every day," Elijah says, his hand steady around hers despite the emotion in his voice. "Not because I have to, not because of a deal or a timeline or anything that brought us together. Because you're the bravest, strongest, most extraordinary person I've ever known, and I want to spend the rest of my life being worthy of you." Yuna squeezes his hands, tears streaming down her face. "I promise to choose you too," she says. "Even when it's hard, even when we're scared, even when the world doesn't understand us." She lifts their joined hands, pressing her lips to his knuckles. "Especially then." The officiant pronounces them married again, officially. For real this time, and when Elijah kisses her, it's everything. It's the chapel kiss that started it all, reimagined. No desperation, no performance, no chaos. Just two people who found each other against impossible odds, choosing each other freely and completely. The small crowd cheers. Mina is sobbing. Even Yuna's mother is dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Later, as the party winds down and the candles burn low, Yuna stands at the edge of the garden, looking out at the city. The cake she baked, a 5-layer lemon lavender creation that made everyone close their eyes in pleasure, sits half-eaten on the table behind her. The fairy lights cast everything in warm gold. Elijah appears at her side, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, looking rumpled and happy and completely at ease. "What are you thinking about?" he asks. She leans into him, his arm wrapping around her automatically. "About how the worst day of my life led me here." "To me?" "To everything." She looks up at him. "To myself." He presses his lips to her temple. "I'm glad." "Me too." They stand like that as the city hums below them, two people who crashed into each other's lives and refused to let go. Not because fate demanded it or circumstance forced it, or a marriage contract bound them. Because they chose it. Every single day, they chose it. And that Yuna thinks, leaning into the warmth of the man who is hers, who she is, that is the only love story that has ever mattered. And that's where we leave Yuna and Elijah, not at an ending, but at a beginning. The real one. If this story moved you, if it made you feel something, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances. Drop a comment and tell me your favorite moment. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because there are so many more stories like this one waiting for you. See you in the next one.